Welcome to Feeling Seen, the podcast about the movies that make us feel seen. Today I'm talking to a busy working character actor. That means that even if you don't know his name, you've almost certainly seen Parvesh Cheena's face or heard his voice. As you'll hear in this conversation, he's a funny, dynamic presence. The characters that made him feel seen, and there are several, reflect that dynamism. But until recently, there have been very few folks on screens large or small that resemble Parvesh. Punjabi American, gay, short, so he relished in the unapologetically weird characters he saw on screen, who, it turns out, were often villains. Let's get into all that right now. My co-host for today is one of those folks that I feel like he's been with us through so much of our lives. I can bookend it with maybe you recognize him from such films as Barbershop some time ago, or Sometimes I Think About Dying from last year. Maybe you recognize him from television, such as the program Outsourced. Maybe you're a fan of Mythic Quest. Maybe you're a fan of Frasier. And maybe you have heard his voice in the very popular television show, more than a few of you probably listened to, The Mandalorian. Parvesh Cheena, welcome to the show. Is there anything else that people need to know about you before we get started?
No, that was wonderful. I was trying to stay quiet. I was trying to be like, oh, should I be reacting to this? Like, ooh, I remember Barbershop. Oh, that was lovely. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, okay, so the warm-up question that I realized I wanted to ask you was, as a voice actor and a physical on-camera actor, how have you found, it's I feel like when you're a writer, if you take an editing job, that informs how you are as a writer. Same thing if you're a fact checker. How does being a voice actor or vice versa affect you as a physical actor? How do those two things inform each other in ways that you think you may not be considering if you weren't a professional in those two disciplines?
Musical theater. Jordan.
Okay.
Yep. It's all musical theater. I think if you like to sing, if you have any musicality, let that be just another addition to every aspect of your acting work. And why I say this, I love musicals. I was a musical theater major at Roosevelt. I only did one in college because I just got cast in other shows. My voice might not be at that belty Broadway tenor, Aaron Tveit, gorgeous voice, drop your panties kind of voice,
Yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, I'm a character actor, so I could have fun, and I'll be I look to Nathan Lane and Matthew Broderick when the producers had that tryout in Chicago before. I was like, yeah, that's it. That is it. So, but why it helps? Why I say musical theater when it comes to voiceover acting, voice acting, let alone on camera, on stage, I do feel like musical theater kids have the discipline for everything. Sometimes when they're doing 8 shows a week, they have to live like monks, so they take care of their voice, their body, they dance. And I'm talking about all body types, all ages. So what I found was I really started to realize in Rescue Bots, a Transformers cartoon was my first big cartoon. And I know I got that because I improvised all over the material. So improv helped. And then, and the producers were just fans of Outsourced. That does help and play a part. But I remember Ginny McSwain, our wonderful voice booth director, the voiceover director who works with us actors. Ginny is one of the best directors I've ever worked with. And it just hands down in terms of acting, in terms of beats. But with voiceover, what she said was it was just these things if you do this, then you earn that. So if you start low, then you can end high. If you start super fast and everything, then you can end slow. So these kind of, her direction then made me just think of piano, fortissimo, staccato, legato, all the musical terms made sense. Add some improv and then add a mugging, play to the back of a 10,000 seat house. And that's, I think, the combination. Everything informs it all. My stage work informs my voice work. My voice work informs my stage work. I realize even if I'm standing still, my voice can still be going up and down and everything and all around. And I'm totally silent. And then the flip, you could be jumping all around with a monotone, so I found that it was music. And I tell friends, tell young actors, everyone, you can have a horrible voice. You can be the one. You're you're not Celine Dion. You're not going to be selling concerts. but just know what the difference of like high and low and going up and going down, because it will just, everything is singing. I'm very grateful that one could inform the other. The voice informs the on camera, and it's just cyclical. And that's where like I feel like, aren't we all just actors and storytellers who just says like, I'm only a commercial actor. I only do film. The only person who only does film is Leonardo DiCaprio.
Right.
Everyone else, from Meryl, Tom Cruise.
Meryl's doing TV. Yeah. Meryl does TV.
Big Little Lies, season 2. And then now to Only Murders, it's like everyone does this work. Everyone is a journeyman. And like Judi Dench did a multicam right before in London, right before she did, Shakespeare in Love and became big for us Americans. But like, I mean, everyone around the world does everything.
You said something in your talking about like voice acting and musicality and like playing to the rafters. And there are 2 characters that you presented as options to discuss today that I think have that playing to the back of the room quality about them in their bigness. Danny DeVito's Penguin from Batman Returns and Dr. Evil from Austin Powers.
Those 2.
Great speech, Oswald.
My name is not Oswald. It's Penguin! I am not a human being! I am an animal! Cold-blooded! Crank the AC! Where are my lists? Bring me the names! It's time. These are the names of the firstborn sons of Gotham City. Just like I was. And like me, a terrible fate waits for them. Tonight, while their parents party, they'll be dreaming away in their safe cribs, their soft beds, and we will snatch them, carry them into the sewer, and toss them into a deep, dark, watery grave.
All right. The reason why I will always bring up Danny DeVito, because when you are a minority in this country growing up in the 80s, there's not a lot of Indian American representation growing up then. Like this is still pre 9/11. So we weren't even into the terrorist category,
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So like maybe there was like an Apu, of course. Thank you, Hank Azaria. Thank you, Simpsons.
Yes.
But Hari Kondabolu and Hank I've made up. So as long as Hari's okay with Hank, then I'm fine with Hank.
And Hari was one of the first guests we had on this show.
Isn't he a gem?
What a wonderful guy.
Gem.
What a wonderful conversation.
Gem. I bother Hari. Whenever I see Hari at an event, I feel like I'm going to go talk to you. And you are going to be my friend, whether you like it or not. And he's like, oh, God, here comes Parv.
That's my personality, so I completely relate to that.
Yep, you're going to like me. And if not, don't tell me.
Yeah, don't tell me because I'm going to keep doing this.
I remember Iqbal Thiba, as I call him, Iqbal G, who was the principal on Glee. But even back then, he had some appearances on like Roseanne, maybe Early Friends. All to be said, like, Danny DeVito, when he shows up in Taxi, and like, in the 80s, it was all about the reruns, and we didn't know what the shows, like, I watched Three's Company for years, and I think I was like in my late teens, early 20s before I'm like, he's pretending to be gay? Like, I remember, like, I just remember that, John Ritter was a comedic clown. Anyway, so we grew up on like the reruns, 70s, Barney Miller. I remember Barney Miller, Welcome Back, Kotter, but then Taxi.
Excuse me? My name is Elaine Nardo. They told me to ask for Louis.
Yes, ma'am. I'm Louis De Palma.
Oh, hi.
I hope there's no trouble. If there is, I'll be glad to help in any way I can.
Oh, no. It's just that they told me I'd be starting work today as a driver. Oh, here's my hack license.
You're a cab driver?
Uh-huh.
What do you mean busting my chops here, making believe you're a regular person? Go wait over there. I'll call your name and number. Till then, keep your mouth shut.
What's wrong? Don't they feed you in there?
Woo! Woo! Hey, witty person, fill out this form. And I hope you fill it out better than you fill out your pants. See? We're all fun here.
But back then it was like Tony Danza was cute. Christopher Lloyd was weird. But Danny DeVito was short. And I'm short. And that opening pilot, that gag when he comes out of like that, like, kind of like that tower.
Right,
and he comes out, it is perfect.
Louis? Yeah.
I need a cab for the weekend. I'm going to Miami.
No!
Oh, come on, Lee. I'm very tight on time. I got to leave right now.
No!
Let's take it.
Hold everything! Okay, I gotta get tough with you guys.
So you have to follow Danny DeVito's career because and I remember like just so many movies he did, and then like, showing up like in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
I mean, the entire premise of Twins is built around the fact that he's small and Arnold is huge.
And like that's so heartbreaking. Like when he's like he got the shit left over. Remember that line? Like, and so I followed Danny DeVito's career so well, and then Batman Returns was big because the first Batman, like this is like late 80s. So like, you know, when they actually like had to build the sets, pre-CGI blockbusters, right?
I've become so enamored of 90s cinema because it was the last time before digital ubiquity totally took hold in a functional way where if you were making it, you had to make it for real.
Make.
And so it was like the end of opulence was the 1990s.
You're right. I mean, like we'll never have like big crowds like that, you know.
We'll never have Schumacher's Batman again.
No. Nipples not included.
Yeah.
Nipples not included.
You know, equal opportunity nipples and butts from Batman and Robin.
I did like the nipples on the suit. I won't lie. You know, I'm like, campy Shoemaker, you show it, girl.
Yeah, exactly.
You do it. But Batman, so the first Batman, I mean, like this when you start remembering like going to the movie theaters, you're 8, 9, 10, you can start kind of going alone or your parents will pick you up at the Ogden 6 in Naperville, you know, the Dollar Theater. And then Batman Returns, however, was coming out. And then we were going on our like yearly trip to India. And every time as an NRI, non-resident Indian, you either go to India to see all your family in Christmas, when it's super expensive, but the temperature is great over there. And you have the Christmas holidays, you know, thank you, Judeo-Christians, for the days off.
Yes.
And so we go for like 2 weeks to a month, Christmas or in the middle of summer, you know? And that was a summer year. And Batman Returns was coming out. Remember that poster? Michael Keaton, Danny DeVito, Michelle Pfeiffer, just the three heads.
Yeah.
And I remember being
they're
like,
the stack above like the snowy landscape below.
And I'm going to miss it. We're going to miss it. We're going to India for a month. I'm going to miss it. And we go to India. It's already out because there's bootlegs. This was the days of like the physical hard copy, like VHS, early days of DVD, like bootlegs. You would just get, and I was like, oh my God. And we watched like someone who clearly videotaped Batman Returns on a handheld. And that was like kind of like the Russian roulette or Indian roulette of it all. Like you never know if you're going to get a good copy or a bad copy. So like I remember seeing Batman Returns in India with family, and I'm like being like, yeah, I got to see it before it came out, like June 21st back home. So, and that was also that shift of like, we have never seen Danny DeVito go that full makeup, transformation, the voice.
Fucking drag.
You're just jealous because I'm a genuine freak and you have to wear a mask.
You might be right.
And I'm like, I remember him even in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest when he like shows up. He's one of the people, you know, patients, and he's so cute, just doing the smiley, innocent thing. So I see a lot of my work in him too. And Batman Returns, it was like, oh, like this is like when he like bites that guy who was like, you know, his campaign staffer who was one of the friends on, I think he was a Family Ties or a Hogan's Family friend. And he's the one who like Danny DeVito jumps and like, you know, he's coming down the stairs.
Yeah, like gnaws off like a part of him.
Yeah, he's eating the fish.
Not a lot of reflective surfaces down on the sewer, huh?
Still, could be worse. My nose could be gushing blood.
Your nose could be...
You don't think you'll really win, do you? You know, things change. It's such a iconic movie. And like, even like how Michelle Pfeiffer, like the video of her, like with the whip, nailing it in one take.
Actually doing it. And the crew just erupting in applause after.
I mean, that outfit too, like, if I didn't know I was gay then, like, something happened. Because I did not want to sleep with Michelle Pfeiffer, but I'm like, oh my God, can I just, like, look at you? And that's so... And didn't you all take, like, that sewing things from your mom's sewing machine and be like, these could be my fingernails? But, like, so...
The hell here in the neon sign.
Right? I mean, like, yeah, smash, smash. She does hello there, right? The O and the T. Brilliant movie. Tim Burton noir and Danny DeVito being like stepping into something that we haven't seen. And so I have had the fortune to work with him. I did a movie with like Ryan Hansen and Brie.
Oh, Brie Larson.
Thank you.
Yes.
And Danny DeVito was like I want to say like in my 20s, like 08, 09, 06, 07. I don't know. And it was like called Housebroken. And I played the Armenian with like back then they were like, you're brown, just do your blah, 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 blah accent. I'm like, sure. Because I wanted to be opposite Danny DeVito. And I have a scene with him and he was just very nice. And I was very scared, but like we played, improvised, and he was just lovely. And so and then the last thing with DeVito is like, I just can't wait. One thing I do regret, he's been on stage on Broadway a couple times, Tony nominated. I'm like, I think Danny DeVito, that next thing will be like, I got to see him on stage.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's iconic because like then people ask like, who did you see in yourself growing up? I'm like, well, they weren't there. I mean, like what Iqbal G? It's just Iqbal Thiba.
Yeah.
Like he was he's been Danny Pudi's dad on Community. He's been all of everyone's dad, uncle, grandpa. And it's just like, but he's also a lovely human. And so I remember him, but like in that kind of superstar, like in terms of where you saw leads, like Danny DeVito was big for a character actor like myself.
It felt like there was a latitude for superstardom in that era too.
Yeah.
Like you could be a character figure, but also be an A-lister who like anchored movies. Like Danny DeVito's a big goddamn
War of
star.
the Roses. You know, we
War
forget
of the
that.
Roses, yes.
And Jersey Films, like I feel he has an Oscar. I feel like from producing something or like Get Shorty or like, I mean like, and he's still on top of all this, like all the other stuff, like he's a great performer.
Is there a freedom of movement within knowing that you have that novelty appeal to where it's like, I'm going to go big because I think there's based on, it's like how I feel like horror cinema has like a latitude to be sort of crazier. It has a latitude to like stretch the imagination, not only because of the confines of like fantasy genre, like the unreality of it, but also when you have a genre of low expectation, and not that Danny DeVito is an actor of low expectation, but when you have a genre of either low or different expectation, it's kind of like, listen, we can swing for a grand slam from here because we're not being hovered over policed by expectations in the way that like a fine art drama like The Piano would be. And so I wonder, like, you like identifying as a character actor, like, is there a freedom of movement within character acting and that embrace, like, especially in voice work, of being able to like play to the back of the room? Like, do you feel like you get a stretch in certain ways that like maybe you wouldn't otherwise? Like, I don't know. I'm just trying to pin down this thing of like when people count you out, or when you are against what people consider formed to the expectation of norms. Is there a freedom of like, fine, fuck it, I can move fast and break things?
I think we're shifting with also where I even still like lie in my Gen X, millennial border. I'm a Zennial. Remember, like I was Gen Y, then they took it away, and then they had nothing for us 78 to 82
There was a real
born.
retraction on Gen Y.
Right. They're like, oh, by the way, now Gen X only goes to 77. We're like, okay, so I guess I'm millennial. They're like, no, millennial brings in 82, 83. I'm like, where did we go? Where did 78 to 82 go? And then like, no, oh, fine,
like, listen,
you're
it's
Zennial.
hard enough for fucking Gen X out here. Like,
Zennial.
we are looked over enough. Are you kidding me?
Zennials. We are, or ex-Zennial or whatever it is. But like, we're in between. So like, my Gen X side recognizes a lot of like things that are shit. Like this whole character actor view even. Is like, it's basically you're not the white, cis, straight, hot, able-bodied Judeo-Christian person. Everyone else is a character actor. Short, fat, Italian, you know, hairy, funny name, big nose, everything. So I'm just like, and let alone the biggest thing I think is sexuality. I play a lot of characters in my life, like Gupta on Outsourced. Like, we didn't know his sexual life. We didn't know his like dating life, his family life, anything. He was there in service to tell, like, we like later seasons of Office, we get there for everyone because you just had to develop like shit. We can only mind Jim and Pam so much and Michael Scott. Like, let's do Meredith, let's do Oscar. You know, like, so that's when they really went deep. But like, you know, originally they're just there to be like the kooky office guy, the weird accountant. You know, I think what I am learning from like younger folks is like the sexual kind of awakening in terms of identity, expression, gender as well. is changing. They're like, why wouldn't the little bear be the romantic lead? Why wouldn't the 6'2" tall lesbian couple be dainty and want to dance and do something little? They can't just be the WNBA players because they're tall.
Yeah.
You know? So like, that's shifting.
Yeah, not everyone's Brienne of Tarth.
Right. And this view of like, I do find, I say this quite a bit, that because it was an awakening during Trump, awakening during George Floyd and COVID too. Like, oh, wow. A lot of my comedy for a big bulk was in service of white supremacy and systemic racism. Like, I'm not like those other Indians. I like Lunchables for lunch, not sag paneer. Is that how you say it? I don't know. I do.
Yeah.
But I just pretend. Oh, I'm not like those homos. I can also straight act. Hey, what's up? We did that. I code switched because I could hang and then I could get more parts. And then, shit, the only Indian part is the dad. So I better be able to be a convincing dad. So. Well,
and I understand too that you were in this industry in the 2000s.
Yeah.
Like the no fats, no femmes, no Asians
Hello.
like era of homophobia.
When Kim Chi on Drag Race, a lip sync song, I loved it. I loved no fat femmes or Asians, you know, and Kim Chi couldn't really dance well, but you know, she did it in that one. But I remember like brilliant. What a moment for like, and I have also like, I'm obviously South Asian, Indian, Desi, Punjabi, whatever. But I also like, I think it's easier to just be like, it's one big continent.
Yeah.
Asia. We're Asians, you know. We can go to more parties if we don't. If we can just stay under the Asian umbrella, from Palestine to the Philippines. It's a big continent.
It's a big continent.
It's a big continent.
Yeah.
So, but like I realize that with some of my work, and then I'm like, I don't want to just be a character actor. The older I'm getting, the more confident I got in my sexuality and openness. Is like, no. Even with a couple curvy extra few pounds of padding, like I'm going to be the romantic lead. Nah. Let's change the same guy, the same truck driver, but instead of his girlfriend, Jenny, let's make it his boyfriend, Bill.
Yeah.
But that shift is happening now. And like, I see that with younger folks who are like, I want to be Romeo. And you know, in my mind, I'd be like, I'm thinking to myself, you're 5'6", 170 pounds at Roosevelt. You should be Peter. Maybe. Oh, you didn't get. And honestly, even at Chicago Shakespeare Theater, I had done, what was it? Romeo and Juliet. And it was like an abridged version, the one that toured, or they do for the galas, or the the students would come, or like if you didn't want to watch a 2.5 hour, oh, well, let's watch this 80-minute. And then it toured with the NEA for it. Like there was like a National Endowment of the Arts tour way back, like in 2001, 2002. Because Barbershop 1 had come out, and then they didn't have me go on the tour because they said I would not be a believable Benvolio. I would not be a believable best friend to Romeo. And I even was like, I get it. I can't play Mercutio, but I think I could play Benvolio. He's so boring, you know. But like, I was Peter. I was, you know, like I was the apothecary. But no, I couldn't go on tour because I wouldn't be a believable Benvolio.
That's so fucked up.
Back then. That's because they were like, and even then I was like, I get it. I'm a character actor.
Do you find yourself like, are you still in the process of unlearning that internalization, or are you past that process?
I'm a little past it because once you start getting like, after I've been in like 3 long-term relationships, my current ex, right? Is your current ex is your my most recent ex, excuse me.
Most recent ex.
He is like my best friend. He's like my cha-cha, my, you know, like
that's the unifying queer experience.
It is.
Is that.
It's 7, we were together 7 years. So like, but after, and 4 years with the one before that, like after that, you start to feel like, oh, if I'm fucking in my real life. So I think I'm okay with my characters fucking too. So like that was a shift though. Honestly, like I don't mean to be like that, not even grotesque, but just like, hey, sex jokes. But I just meant like, but that is a thing for an actor and artist. Like once your real life, your real life is better than what you thought that some of your characters' lives are playing, just know that it's just for show. It's just acting. And then to the person who might need work or rent, then you can play those parts. Sometimes I'm grateful for the ability to be like, I don't know if I need to necessarily play certain things all the time. That's just gratitude with growing in one's career. But I do feel less and less. I used to wax my back all the time because I was always shirtless in shows for the comedic element of like, hey, there's like a chubby guy with back hair, you know?
Yeah.
My name is Earl, we did it. And I didn't have it in me to take power in it, which maybe someone might have. I took it as like, they're making fun of me. Let's do it. Okay, let's go to European Wax Center, get the thing. And then the makeup people, they do even that extra spray because of the redness when you have rosacea and brown skin. And so I remember doing all this. And I remember like with Eric, my ex, about like a year into our relationship, I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Going to Palm Springs, I'm not waxing anymore. Like, but that age, 30-year-old me might not have done it, but 40-year-old me was like, this is stupid. I am me and everything. But like, it took a while. And like, I'm still in, what year am I in therapy? 12 years of therapy. So like, all that helps. I'm very grateful in that regard. But I sometimes feel like, am I dumber than most? I don't dye my hair or beard. And I can see my other friends who like, Parvesh is not as old as the rest of us. I'm like, you're right. I'm younger than you. Stop dyeing your hair. They don't want me around because I aged them up. I'm younger than you, Malik. Shut up, Parv.
It's time for a quick break, but I'll be back shortly with more from Parvesh Cheena. Then I'll have one quick thing about the recent Emmys telecast and a particular winner that we want to spotlight and celebrate, Niecy Nash. So stick around at the very end of the show for that.
Most of the plants humans eat are technically grass.
Most of the asphalt we drive on is almost a liquid.
The formula of WD-40 is San Diego's greatest secret.
Zippers were invented by a Swedish immigrant love story.
On the podcast Secretly Incredibly Fascinating, we explore this type of amazing stuff.
Stuff about ordinary topics like cabbage and batteries and socks.
Topics you'd never expect to be the title of the podcast. Secretly Incredibly Fascinating.
Find us by searching for the word secretly in your podcast app.
And at MaximumFun.org.
I'm Dan McCoy.
I'm Stuart Wellington.
I'm Elliot Kalin.
And together we are The Flophouse, a long-running podcast on the Maximum Fun Network, where we watch a bad movie and then talk about it.
And because we're so long-running, maybe you haven't given us a chance. I get it, but you don't actually have to know anything about previous episodes to enjoy us, and I promise you that if you find our voices irritating, we grow endearing over time.
Perhaps you listened to one of our old episodes and decided that we were dumb and immature. Well, we've been doing this a while now. We have become smarter and more mature, and generally nicer to Dan.
But we are only human, so no promises.
Find The Flophouse on MaximumFun.org or wherever you get podcasts.
Welcome back to Feeling Seen. Film, television, and voice actor Parvesh Cheena is here with me today, and we are talking about some of the strange and often villainous characters that he's seen himself in over the years. Danny DeVito's Penguin and Mike Myers' Dr. Evil, for example. We've also been getting into how his own relationship to the characters he's played has morphed over the years. Let's get back to that now. It feels like it was previously like you would have to select an intersection of yours to go with. But do you feel like now your intersection is able to converge in the way that you present yourself for work and in what you will accept or reject in terms of work that comes your way?
Yeah, Jordan, when I was like younger, I used to think like, I'm going to have my own pride parade for every other like Sikh, Punjabi, now atheist, chubby, 5'6", curly haired, you know, like big nose. Like I thought like, it'll only be me in this parade. And now, and I even like wrote a comment sometime, I think recently, with a lot of the, you know, the Israel-Palestine, just in terms of like posting. And I remember like some of them like, as a Punjabi, Sikh, I'm like even just repeating what I just said. And someone's like, there's a lot of adjectives. I'm like, and I just remember saying like, trust me, buddy. I long for the day when the only adjective describing us is earthling Parvesh Cheena.
Yeah.
That's just me.
Human Parvesh Cheena.
That's me, because like I view us all together as one. And yes, have the subsections of like, in like, can you imagine the year 2800? Like someone being like, here's a mix of like my Peruvian, Indian, Thai, Chinese, and Martian dishes. You know, like literally be like, acknowledge every little bit of yourself. And take what you want. And I mean, I just long for that day because I just see that future, because I don't want us to have, I feel like we as humans always look for something to divide. We could even be a mono culture. We could all be, we could all be Catholic Peruvians, all the same shade of like caramel and everything. And we would still be like, who's poor, who's rich, who's smart, who's educated. We'll still find divisions. We
would still factionalize.
Yeah. So, like, I am just trying to bring it now to everything. There's some, like, more of us. There's a fortune of also not having to be the dramaturg for every character that you play anymore. Like, because there are more people who just have knowledge. Like, I remember, like, people didn't even know what Sikhs were. They're like, what is that turban? Are you Muslim? I'm like, how do you not know? Like, the 5th biggest religion in the, in the world. It was just, like, we're so, like, uneducated and, like, in this country at times. There's that element of just teach about themselves here. So I am grateful that I don't have to keep doing. I even say, like, just to be specific, if I've been cast in this part and you're not precious, the character's name is not precious to the story, then perhaps sometimes change the name from like I'm not Gujarati. I'm not, my best friend Sonal Shah is Gujarati. Ravi Patel, Gujarati. There is some physical features too. I do have a big Punjabi nose. It's just one of those things that some of us have big noses.
Okay.
And my skin tone also alludes to it, being northern versus further south. So when I can, I'll be like, hey, maybe Dr. Singh, Dr. Gill, Dr. Chopra, Dr. Chadda, these are just the names that are a little bit more me. Versus like if a friend of mine, Rizwan Manji is going to be playing an Ismaili or a Muslim character, a character with the Q's and Z's in the name, like an Arik or that makes more sense. It's just these little adjustments that now we can make in our character work that doesn't really shift the character, but it means so much more to the kid who's watching, as well as that one person out of 1,000 who's like, Parvesh Cheena is actually Punjabi. I checked on his Wikipedia. He should not be playing a Patel.
Well, Auli Ikravalyu was able to have her character in Mean Girls named Janice Imi-Ike as opposed to Janice Ian because she's Indigenous Hawaiian.
I haven't seen it yet, but I am a huge fan of Avantika.
She's fabulous.
Isn't she? I missed a chance to play her dad in a Disney Channel movie called Spin. It was like right before pandemic, and then I got either Connecting or Mythic Quest. And it conflicted. And I was like, oh, what a bummer. I think they got an Indian. When I say Indian, that means like someone from India, versus
of India, yes.
Yeah, versus like Indian American, Indian Canadian, Indian British. She's a star. She definitely is a star.
She feels like a star.
Yeah, but I love those. I mean, like, look at all those shifts with Mean Girls the musical. Because it doesn't matter. It didn't matter.
Yeah, her name is Karen Shetty. Her name is Karen Shetty in that. Like, so, like, it. Just let it reflect the actor.
Nothing else changes, right? Nothing else changes. She's still a ditzy, checking the weather with her bosom. That's it. So I do love like that. I don't have to fight for those anymore. I don't have to fight. If anything, sometimes they'll be like, hey, do you want to make your character gay? I'm like, oh, well, since it's set in 1962 and we are in the fields of Punjab. If he's gay, maybe it's closeted. But, I don't know. I'll use it as a character choice. But, like, since my wife is pregnant with our twins in this one, maybe I won't. Like, now there's, like, almost, like, too much. Like, no, it's okay. No, I can play straight on this one.
Yeah. I can't let us get away without bringing up Dr. Evil and how the bridge between Penguin and Dr. Evil and perhaps maybe you don't see them as such, but the villain connection between
villains.
These two. Yeah.
Dr. Evil is because Mike Myers was one of our favorites. SNL, when you're younger, you want to watch adult stuff. So I remember it was middle school. I remember SNL 25 and Austin Powers came out I think between senior year of high school and freshman year of college. So 97. I know it's in 97 into
a global sensation.
Yeah. And remember, and it did not do as well in the theaters, but it became a DVD, VHS, Hollywood video blockbuster hit. And I owned it. I bought a pre-owned one, and Danny Sama. I'm fortunate that two of my best friends are Indian American best friends are both named Danny. Danny growing up, Danny here in LA. But Danny Sama and I had brought the TV VCR combo. And every time we would go to a frat party, a theater department party, anything, get stoned, like how you're getting stoned at least our generation, we were from Naperville, so we didn't have access to weed. The brown Asian kids didn't have access to weed until U of I. But we would watch Austin Powers drunk in the middle of the day, 4 p.m. We watched it over and over and over. And I mean, like, that movie is a kook and a half, and it's for my generation, the first unapologetically wackadoo weird.
Gentlemen, it's come to my attention that a breakaway Russian republic, Krepelakistan, is about to transfer a nuclear warhead to the United Nations in a few days. Here's the plan. We get the warhead, and we hold the world ransom for $1 million.
Don't you think we should maybe ask for more than $1 million? $1 million isn't exactly a lot of money these days. Virtucon alone makes over $9 billion a year.
Really? It's a lot. Okay, then. We hold the world ransom for $100 billion.
So, like, I find that, like, both Devito in Batman Returns and even Myers and Dr. Evil, like, I know these time periods in my life so specifically.
Oh my God, yeah.
Just entering middle school with Batman Returns, just entering college with Austin Powers, Dr. Evil, and just knowing, like, oh my gosh, you could play so many characters. Like, you can do it. It's, like, kind of within reach.
Austin Powers, he's the snake to my mongoose. Or the mongoose to my snake. Either way, it's bad. I don't know animals. But I do know this. This time it's personal. Kill him.
From Batman Returns to, I mean, like, Dr. Evil, like, this is also still kind of before, like, I jumped into, like, theater hardcore.
Yeah.
Freshman year of college, you still are starting to see theater. I remember, like, at U of I, transferring to Roosevelt, you just have to start seeing shows. And then coming to Chicago, I'm like, I stopped kind of watching movies because I'm like, your free time should be theater. But I do remember, that those were still the moments of, like, how actors across the nation can kind of get close to acting if they can't go to their local theater.
Yeah.
It's film and TV. So that was it. But yeah, Dr. Evil is just such a weird, I mean, like, it's so weird. It's such a weird thing. And, like, we still,
I like your gravitation toward a permission for strangeness.
Yeah, because, like, I like people that, like, have no id or speak their id too. Like, it's random, but unlike where you don't want to do, like, crazy or, like, druggy characters like an improv, because you don't have anywhere to go, and it's not an immediate kind of plot device. It needs to be rehearsed and written and drafted. But when you see it done well, I guess Robin Williams was one of the true geniuses of, like, improvised id, of just letting it flow and go. And it makes sense. And, you know what I mean? Like, just so brilliant. Like, you could feel like, did he memorize this? So back to, like, just the sense of, like, it's interesting, like, how movies for me they fall off. I'm a big television guy because my limitation with film, like, now all I'm thinking about, like, Austin Powers, like, can you imagine if that was, like, a 13 episode? I mean, in essence, it is. 3 movies is almost like 12 episodes, something. But, like,
well, I mean, and somehow Mike Myers got the show, like, that came out a year or so ago on Netflix that was based on the, like, conspiratorial organization that his father character in So I Married an Axe Murderer believed in. And he got a series based on that, known as The Meadows.
Did you see it?
I did not watch it.
I haven't seen it either. And I don't know why. I don't, there's that thing of me, like, why didn't I? Sometimes there's that thought, like Mike Myers was gone away too long at times. I'm like, where have you been? I do, like, I'm selfish. Like, I always want more from my artist. I want more Elton John. I want more Ben Folds. I want more Amy Mann. Oh my gosh. Can you tell, like, I'm a 90s white child?
Well, I couldn't let us get away without, like, touching, like, one other character you did bring up. And I thought that I had never heard of this movie. And then I realized what it was and was like, I watched this movie over and over again when I was young. And that is Vice Versa.
Yes.
And you brought up Ajay Naidu's character in that. I think his name Dale, who is a small part, and he's a bully child. I love it. This is a third villain. This is the third villain in this list.
Because Brown, we couldn't play villains.
Hi, how you doing?
I've known better days, George.
Excuse me?
I mean, Mr. Ferreira.
Raccoon turd.
I'm sorry. I didn't catch that.
This is the only, like, non-white character that I would imagine, like, in informative times, I would imagine this was a first, or perhaps stand out sort of among only, like, hey, there's actually a kid that looks like me in this high school, in this movie.
Vice Versa is that film with Judge Reinhold and Fred Savage as a dad and son. And it's a Freaky Friday. They trade places, they touch some, oh Lord, ancient Chinese artifact. Ooh, mystical Asians. It was after Gremlins. So like Asia, we were mystical. Especially our East Asian siblings. You know?
Like it is stated, like these white vases that I bought from China are exotic,
right?
And people are gonna buy them.
Oh my gosh!
Hey, I want this to go with the rest of the samples. $1.50. How about everyone the guy had? Store puts a lampshade on this. Retails for what do you think? 75, 80?
Nothing like a 600% market to put a smile on your face.
It's absolutely an era where like they would have said they went to the Orient.
Yeah.
Kind of
situation. Yes. And, but to be fair, like, I thought, like, oh, Asia's the land where you're from. I thought Oriental were, like, things, like rugs.
Sure, yeah.
And everything.
An Oriental rug.
Yeah.
Yes.
But then you even learn, like, oh, look, my goodness, that's where the word itself is still, like, from that, Middle East. East to who? Oh, I get it. From you guys.
According to what?
According to Britain. The OGs of white supremacy, the British. Let's hear it for the British. Oh, did they Brexit? Oh, no, too bad. California's got a bigger economy than you. Are you relevant still? No?
It goes from the hype horn to the slide whistle really quick.
How do we get on to the British?
Ajay Naidu.
Oh, so Ajay, bless. We watched Vice Versa, and we were like, that kid is not just like, he's not like Latino. He's Indian. And and then we saw his name in the credits. We're like, damn, he was. And he's from Chicago also, and that film is set there. It's on my mind because I just saw Ajay perform in Waiting for Godot in Brooklyn with Michael Shannon. And my friend Jeff Beal was in it too. I think Jeff was Lucky. I think Ajay was Patso or Flip'em. I get the parts confused. But it was great to see him he kills it on stage. He's still got that same physicality that he had like during like his, dancing in Office Space.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah.
So I love Ajay because he is like, when I say I get back to age and proper, like he's proper Gen X, and he is like, he had to live through it, let's just put an accent on this character. Why? Because it's the 90s or the 2000s. Just do it or we'll just go to someone else.
Yeah.
And we all were like, we get it. We need to pay rent. And I used to always think like I need to get into the system before I can change it. Mm-hmm. But I just remembered that, like being like, all right, you can't say that there isn't an Indian American in the 80s who was doing stuff. And then Office Space, I still think is like one of his big ones. And he's done other like Indian American indie projects, that we've seen and everything. And he's great.
Why does it say pepper jam when there is no pepper jam? I swear to God, one of these days I just kick this piece of shit out the window.
My bridge question to you to wrap it up would be, like, you mentioned, like, Avantika and, like, What a Star She... Like, and the sort of deconditioning yourself from, like, the internalized sort of bigotry of what was placed upon you as a gay Punjabi, like, short man, like, actor in this industry. Is there a link between the prior generations and now the plugged-in generations that you're seeing? Like, are you guys coming together to forge paths? Okay, you are?
Absolutely.
Oh, God. Thank God.
I do is, like, want to cry when I think about, like, Karan Brar, Nick Dadani, Karan Soni. Like, these are out queer. 2, if not all 3 of them are also Punjabi Indian Americans. Karan Soni is from India. Like he came out here for SC and stayed. And then Brar and Nikhil. I think Nick also wants to go by Nikhil. You know, there's some reclaiming of the full name. Not the Americanized. Call me Parv, guys. It's easier than Parvesh. And I don't mind. I like it both. I mean, like, even people in my family call it.
But there's a part of it that's like an acquiescing to,
absolutely.
like, I don't know, Parvesh is hard.
Yeah. I mean, like, my friend, like, Pradeep became Danny, you know. Not Danny Pudi. Pudi's Catholic, so he's been Danny since birth. But my other Danny Sama was like Pradeep, you know, and I get it. Like, there's that element of like, hey, 1984 wasn't really fun, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when I believe it or not, like I got the guest room being made up. I've got Jasmine Sharma, who is an actress, playwright, director, Northwestern wonder kid. And I'm saying that wrong. I said that wrong. I did the Ted Lasso thing. Wonder Kid. Wonderkind.
Wonderkind?
And yes, thank you. And Kuhu Verma. We're doing this musical, and Kuhu is the lead, and Kuhu was like in, you know, Murder Mystery 2 and Big Sick, and and both of them also have these incredible voices. So like, they're young kids. I'm like, Gunkle's going to Costco, croissants and bagels. So like, I'm positioning myself to be Gunkle, to be dad.
Oh,
like,
that's beautiful.
And like, ask me anything. This is how much I'm making. I'm like, I share age, I share wage transparency. Yeah. I love them. I love them because they never deal with the shit that like I have barely touched, you know, either on the gay side or the race side. Even just recently, this past week, I had some white comments about, there are going to be a lot of white people there. Are you going to be okay? I'm like, I think I know how to talk to white people. I think I've made it 44 years in my life in industry too, with knowing how to talk to people of other races. You're like, did I not just say I'm a 90s white child? I know. Hello, Sarah McLachlan's going on tour. Bring back the Lilith there. So just say, but like, it still happens. And I am there to let them know, like, the confidence that they have, the not asking permission that I did for everything or forgiveness on top. They, Jasmine says something beautiful about her work as a playwright. Like, all of her plays deal with her Americanness. Yeah. And I love that word. Americanness. What is your Americanness? What is mine Americanness? It's shifting. So I do see these kids. I honestly just want to protect them all, but they don't need it. And I really just feel like, okay, wonderful. Like, when do we get to all be families? When do we get to, like, not just be the next door neighbor quirky? And it's been shifting for a while, but there's just they have no, like, quotas, and they have no, like, limits. And I'll end with this. Why I love these kids so much is, like, there's no longer the scarcity complex. There's no longer the fear that, like, there can only be one Indian, there can only be one gay Indian part or person. And I see it with, like, my peers. My three best friends are Rizwan Munji, Danny Pudi, and Sonal Shah. There's no competition among us. Danny, Riz, and I will literally run lines for each other when we are up for the same part. If we're in the waiting room, like, why not? You know, you do it, I'll do it. And so I just I hope some friends have said, like, other kids, like, your friendship with you, Sonal, Danny, especially because the three of us are from Chicago. Riz is Canadian. Don't tell. But the three of us, Chicago suburbanites, we're just so grateful that, like, I mean, to hear someone say, like, the three of your friendship means a lot to us Midwestern or Bases. We're like, wow. Wow. Like, that blew my mind more than anything. Yeah. Like, how is my, like, oh my God, my friendships are activism. Because he said that, like, because it shows that you don't have to be competitive. Yeah. It shows that you need support and each other in this industry. Why do you think Danny, like, I didn't audition for Mythic Quest. And it wasn't even Danny's idea, to be fair. It was Megan Gann's idea. Like, what about Parvesh? And he was like, yeah. I'm like, you didn't recommend me? I do love the fact that I want that. I want friendship. I don't like competition in art. Maybe we all get a TV show. Maybe we all get $75,000 an episode. Maybe we all win. Everyone can get an A+. Maybe this time. Maybe this time. We'll be lucky, Jordan. I'm doing my Rex Harrison speak singing. Maybe this time I'll win.
I think that is, maybe this time I'll win is what I'm going to call the note to go out on. Parvesh Cheena, thank you so much for being with us today. You've been such a wonderful, generous, and guys, flexible guest.
Oh, Jordan,
and
my love.
I so appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me. Always fun to be with the Maximum folks.
Thanks so much to Parvesh Cheena for that sprawling conversation. You can find Parv all over the place, but most recently he played the Harvard Provost on Frasier, the reboot, which you can find on Paramount+, and he was also in Sometimes I Think About Dying, a movie starring Daisy Ridley that is set to be released later this month. And now that promised one quick thing before I go, in honor of the Emmys and in honor of multiple-time nominee and finally winner, Niecy Nash Betts. By the tally of the winners, it was a great night at the Emmys. Beef went home with a lot of trophies. The Bear won big. To no one's surprise, Succession was crowned over and over again for its merits. But the winner we are most excited about is Niecy Nash Betts, who finally won in the category of supporting actress in a limited or anthology series for Dahmer, Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story. Her speech was incredible. Famously, she thanked herself. It's easy to, the speeches are the thing that matriculate around the internet. That's the headline. But what we want to shout out here today in the one quick thing before we go is just Niecy, in her own words, in the briefing room afterwards, when she was asked by a reporter why she felt like it was important for her to take that moment on the stage to thank herself in accepting her award. So we are going to kick it over to Niecy Nash Betts right now to elaborate on that for us.
You know, I'm the only one who knows what it cost me. I'm the only one who knows how many nights I cried because I couldn't be seen for a certain type of role. I'm the one who knows what it's like to go through divorce on camera and still have to pull up and show out, and you still got to go home and you have children and a whole life. And so I'm proud of myself. I'm proud that I did something that people said I could not do because I believed in me. And sometimes people don't believe in themselves. And I hope my speech was a delicious invitation for people to do just that. Believe in yourself and congratulate yourself. Sometimes you got to encourage what? Yourself. And that's why it's not called mama esteem, them esteem, us esteem. It's called self-esteem, because don't nobody got to believe it but you.
And that is our show. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at FeelingSeenPod, or send us an email at feelingseen@MaximumFun.org. If you want to follow me, I'm JorCrew on Twitter. Our theme music is by Andrew Epen. The show is produced by Marissa Flaxbart. Our senior producers are Kevin Ferguson and Laura Swisher, and this is a production of Maximum Fun.
Maximum Fun,
a worker-owned network
of artist-owned shows, supported directly by you.